His Royal Highness, gone. His Order of the Garter, gone. His dukedom, gone. And now the title of Prince, bestowed upon him at birth, gone too. Is this the last or latest humiliation for the man formerly known as Prince Andrew, now just Andrew Mountbatten Windsor? It was King Charles, Andrew's older brother, who made the decision to remove his style, titles and honours. The pair were last seen together in public in September. In a statement, Buckingham Palace said these censures are deemed necessary, notwithstanding the fact that he continues to deny the allegations against him. Allegations that stem from Andrew's relationship with the late convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein, and from this photograph believed to have been taken in 2001. Virginia Roberts-Giuffre alleged that this was the first of 3 times when she was made to have sex with Andrew, whom she was introduced to by Ghislaine Maxwell, on the right, Epstein's accomplice. Andrew has always strongly denied her account and said he never met her.
I have no recollection of ever meeting this lady. None whatsoever.
You don't remember meeting her?
No.
But in recent weeks the story has re-emerged as an embarrassment and ongoing scandal for the royals. Not only did Roberts-Giuffre's posthumous memoir resurface the allegations, but leaked emails too called Andrew's behaviour into question. An email revealed he was still in touch with Epstein in 2011, a year after he claimed he'd called the friendship off. And allegations too that he asked his protection officer to find out information about Roberts-Giuffre. The Met Police are now looking into that. The drip-drip of news combined with the drip-drip of piecemeal moves by the palace to slowly rid Andrew of his duties. The public wanted more from the king.
How long have you known about Andrew and Epstein?
King Charles was heckled earlier this week, with polls showing 63% wanting Andrew stripped of his dukedom.
What do you think? Should the MPs be allowed to debate the royals in the House of Commons?
And so it was no surprise the response to the news on the streets of London overnight.
It's a bit of an embarrassment, to be honest, on the nation, on the country, everyone in general. This is a member of our royal family, these are our leaders, and this is what's happening.
I'm with the monarchy, but he shouldn't be in it. And Queen Elizabeth should have not protected him quite so much as she did.
I think it's the right thing, but I think there's just too much publicity and noise about it. I think it just needs to be taken out. He needs to be stopped talking about.
That is the hope from the palace, that the talking stops, given this story partially overshadowed the King's historic visit to the Vatican last week. But the prayers of the monarch go alongside the lack of confession from Andrew, and the judgment of many that the royal family has taken too long to grasp the severity of this case. And has the palace gone far enough still? Andrew will now be forced out of Royal Lodge in Windsor and packed off to the royal estate in Sandringham in Norfolk.
I now speak to you as the King.
So not exiled far away like the Duke of Windsor, whose abdication caused such embarrassment at the time. He was removed from the line of succession by an Act of Parliament, but he remained a Duke. The only time a royal title was removed by Parliament was in 1917 when Prince Ernest Augustus was stripped of his title because he was an enemy of Britain. For now, Andrew still remains in line to the throne, and it appears a royal warrant will remove Andrew's titles, not an Act of Parliament. Yet some MPs want more scrutiny.
I think what's been brought into the light, the fact is that people hold power and they're unaccountable for that power, and therefore scrutiny, transparency and accountability is absolutely crucial to the extent that the public can understand what is going on for the right reasons.
In the statement from the palace, the King and Queen said, "Their Majesties wish to make clear that their thoughts and utmost sympathies have been and will remain with the victims and survivors of any and all forms of abuse." The family of the late Virginia Roberts-Giuffre called this moment bittersweet after the years that she fought for justice for Epstein's victims. Her brother and sister-in-law said that an ordinary American girl from an ordinary American family brought down a British prince with her truth and extraordinary courage. But they also said that more justice was required. There are still questions for the Met Police. Channel 4 News revealed that the force looked into allegations relating to Prince Andrew and Jeffrey Epstein and declined to open a full criminal investigation on 3 separate occasions. They have previously said that most activities occurred outside of the UK and therefore it was not appropriate for them to act. And while Epstein's association with Andrew has now caused an historic moment in royal history, there are still politicians on the other side of the Atlantic calling for the release of more files related to Epstein and for more heads to roll. So joining me now is Ed Owens, a historian of the British monarchy whose work has focused on the House of Windsor. Ed, I mean, firstly, how unusual is this for a prince to be stripped of their title?
This is a huge moment for the British monarchy, completely unprecedented in the 21st or 20th centuries. And yeah, I think very telling of just how significant a moment this is for the House of Windsor.
Is this moment, therefore, because of its historic nature, comparable to 1997 or even 1936?
This is certainly the biggest, I think, crisis the monarchy has gone through since the death of Diana in 1997, and before that, the abdication crisis in 1936. It is a significant moment for the British royal family, and that is because it has brought into question the fundamental popularity of this institution, its reputation, at a time, amid a context when there has been a decline in public support for this institution. And I think King Charles's very deliberate, decisive action in regard to his brother Andrew must be understood in connection with that wider context of the declining public support for the British monarchy.
But isn't the point that the king has not been seen to be decisive, given that the photo of Andrew with Virginia Roberts-Giuffre was first published 14 years ago? There's been this sort of drip, drip. You know, when it came to 1936, you know, the Duke of Windsor was very quickly banished to France. Andrew's still going to be in Sandringham. So have they acted decisively enough, and why has it taken so long for them to act?
It's right. You're absolutely right that this has been a sort of a steady corrosion of both Andrew's reputation, but also I think the reputation of the monarchy. It's only in the last couple of weeks that we have learnt of new details regarding the relationship between Andrew and Jeffrey Epstein, which contradicted what he had told Emily Maitlis in his famous 2019 Newsnight interview. And I think it's this shift in, if you like, the facts that have dramatically transformed the behaviour of the rest of the institution towards Andrew and have propelled the king to act. I think you know, the major roadblock towards firmer action towards Andrew more than a decade ago was, of course, Queen Elizabeth II. She was protecting her second son. She loved him very much. We are told, repeatedly that he was her favourite child.
The Queen passed away 3 years ago. Why, when Charles took up the throne, when he was then crowned a year later, why was there not this sort of cleaning up of affairs then?
I think in relation to that, it's simply the case that they hoped the Andrew problem would go away. It's simply the case that in the course of the last 3 months, we've had of course the Virginia Giuffre memoir that has been published. We've also had the steady drip of information coming out of the Epstein files over in the United States of America. The association between Andrew and Epstein has crystallized in the minds of the public as something that is really, really problematic. And it's just the case that Andrew wasn't willingly going away. The fact that he remained in Royal Lodge for as long as he did, against I think the will of his brother, because we know that King Charles was trying and urging him to leave. I think ultimately the pressure was just too much given the changed circumstances, and now he's going to have to vacate that property, and of course he is giving up all of these other titles.
And I guess there are also still questions about Sarah Ferguson as well.
There are ongoing questions around Sarah Ferguson. She has her own PR team. She's not represented by Buckingham Palace. She has continued to be a thorn in the side of the monarchy, just as was Andrew, mainly because of these associations with Jeffrey Epstein. I think she has managed to rehabilitate her public image on at least 2 occasions before. I wouldn't put it past her that she can do so again. However, I think distance from the public eye would count for a lot at this particular point in time.
And if we're talking about this being an historic moment, and we're talking about potentially more scrutiny coming from Parliament, from the public towards the monarchy, we're talking about a new monarchy under Charles, but then also a future King William. Will this fundamentally change the way, because you've done a lot of work on this, the way the House of Windsor, the way the monarchy interacts with the media, with the press, how it's always been very tight-lipped, very short, simple statements? Are we going to see something change here where there is more transparency because they realise that what they've done when it comes to this story over the last decade has not worked?
I think so. And I think this is one of those key moments that will, if you like, put in motion change. We saw it in 1997 at the time of Diana's death. The Queen was seen as too distant, too aloof in her response to that significant public moment. And she changed her public image very deliberately post-1997 to be in more tune with public expectations. I think we're going to see that now. And I think the groundswell, this desire for change, it's genuinely coming from the grassroots. The place where the monarchy has lost support most significantly is among the young. They are most attuned to, if you like, the hypocrisy of a family that on the one hand present themselves as the ideal family. Look at Kate and William. And then on the other hand, there is Uncle Andrew, who is doing things very differently, who is associating with convicted sex offenders. There's a real hypocrisy there, and it's really problematic. So I do expect us to see greater transparency. I also think it would be a bold move to see a royal family that doesn't, if you like, elevate itself as the sort of the moral centre point of the nation, because on so many occasions in the past, it has unfortunately fallen down when trying to present itself as, if you like, that moral focal point. It simply cannot live up to the values it has sought to espouse.
Ed Owens, thank you very much for talking to me. Thank you.
Thank you.